Welcome, deep divers. Have you ever found yourself gazing at something utterly mundane, perhaps a patch of grass, or maybe a bustling city street, and then asked a truly mind-bending question, like, what are the intricate, hidden networks of fungi connecting plants beneath our feet, the incredible collective intelligence you see in human teams brainstorming, and, well, the very fundamental nature of reality itself?
Yeah.
What do they all have in common?
It sounds like an impossible riddle, doesn't it?
It really does. Hint that science often compartmentalizes, but there might be these profound unifying principles hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
And imagine if the way a plant shares nutrients with a fungus, or how a team collaborates on an idea, actually follows the same universal rules as how our everyday sort of classical world emerges from the strange quantum realm.
That's the potential aha moment,
Okay.
right? The big connection.
Exactly. So welcome to this deep dive. Today we're unpacking a truly fascinating framework called Network Darwinism. This isn't just a catchy name. It's a compelling, unified theory of information selection. Comes from a really groundbreaking paper by Skylar Fiction, and it cuts across disciplines in a pretty startling way.
And that's really the core insight here. Network Darwinism suggests that networks themselves, whether they are, biological pathways, social connections, or even quantum interactions, they aren't just passive pipes.
Right.
They function as dynamic environments that actively select, amplify, transmit, and ultimately stabilize specific information.
Okay, so they're active.
Very active. It moves beyond just looking at what happens in these systems. It forces us to ask why certain states or behaviors stick around, why they become robust, reliable, and what that means for understanding the universe at multiple scales.
From the tiny quantum level up to societies.
Exactly, from the subatomic to the societal. It's potentially a profound shift in how we view the organizing principles of reality itself.
And to dig into this bold hypothesis, we're drawing from some really diverse, cutting-edge research. We'll start with biology, looking at arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. That's from Burt and colleagues.
Around networks?
Precisely. Then we'll shift gears pretty dramatically into cognitive science, exploring group coordination theories from Wu, Dale, and Hawkins.
How groups think, basically.
Yeah, how collective intelligence emerges. And finally, for our most abstract, but maybe most fundamental pillar, we'll dive into physics. Specifically, Fu and Luo's work on quantum decoherence.
How reality becomes real.
Right. And what's so exciting about network Darwinism is this very multidisciplinary approach, just connecting these seemingly unconnected dots, seeing the patterns emerge. It's genuinely thrilling.
It really is. And as we journey through these distinct areas, you'll start to see how concepts like redundancy, complementarity, and environmental feedback aren't just jargon stuck in one field. They are fundamental active mechanisms playing out across these vastly different domains. They are, maybe the universal keys to unlocking this unified understanding, revealing patterns that transcend scale.
Okay, let's really unpack this core idea. Network Darwinism. As we kind of touched on, modern science is brilliant, right? It gives us incredible, detailed insights by dividing nature up.
Into levels, yeah. Quantum, organismal, societal.
Exactly. And we have amazing specialized theories for each. Think about genetics, or how stars form, or thermodynamics. Each is a masterpiece.
Absolutely. Deep understanding in each silo.
But while this compartmentalization allows for incredible depth, it can sometimes hide the general principles, the universal laws that might be working across all these scales.
And get lost in the details sometimes, miss the connections.
Yeah, experts in the trees, but maybe missing the forest or the soil that connects all the trees, perhaps.
And that's precisely where network Darwinism tries to step in. It aims to bridge those divides, offer a grander framework. Instead of separate theories for separate levels, it identifies a common, overarching principle: how networks mediate the flow of information.
Information flow is key.
It is. By looking at this universal role, it shows how networks foster emergent stability, how complex order arises, not just in one domain, but across all of them.
Right.
It's about finding the universal rules for how information gets organized, selected, and solidified into robust reality, whether it's a particle or a language.
So let's quickly revisit those three seemingly different systems that network Darwinism uses as its pillars. First, the really abstract one, quantum particles. How does the stable, predictable classical reality we experience every day, the solid chair, the swinging pendulum, emerge from that fuzzy, probabilistic quantum world? That's where quantum Darwinism comes in.
A big piece of the puzzle.
Then we jump from the subatomic to the social. Human groups. How do societies develop incredibly complex cumulative culture? Things like language, institutions, technology that builds over generations.
Right. It's not just one person having a bright idea.
No. It's about how minds connect, communicate, collaborate over time.
The group dynamic.
And finally, we ground ourselves back in ecology, in those intricate, often unseen symbioses. Specifically, how plants and fungi interact underground in those common mycorrhizal networks for mutual benefit.
That hidden biological internet again.
Exactly.
So what truly unites these and forms the core questions for network Darwinism are these simple but deep queries. How exactly do these networks select and transmit information?
Yeah.
How do things like redundancy, having backups, and complementarity, specialized parts working together, help stabilize emergent states, whether that's an objective quantum reality, a cultural norm, or nutrient flow?
And can we really learn about one level from another?
That's the really exciting part. Can insights from quantum physics genuinely illuminate ecological networks, or vice versa? That's the ambitious mission here, seeing the universe through a new, more integrated lens.
All right, let's dive into that first pillar, the underground internet. These mycorrhizal networks acting as ecological information channels. When we talk about arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, AMF, and common mycorrhizal networks, CMNs, we're talking about something truly remarkable.
It's vast.
Vast. These intricate, huge underground connections between plant roots. Just picture it. Beneath your feet, in a forest, a field, there's a silent, bustling superhighway.
Fungal threads, hyphae, thinner than hair.
Exactly. Constantly moving resources, signals between plants, sometimes connecting trees hundreds of feet apart. It's incredible natural engineering, but mostly invisible to us.
Completely hidden, yeah. And their primary function is quite amazing. These fungi essentially extend the plant's root system by, well, orders of magnitude.
Wow.
Way beyond where the plant's own roots could go. They tap into tiny pockets of soil resources that are otherwise inaccessible. Things like phosphorus, nitrogen, often locked up.
So they're like miners for the plant.
Kind of, yeah. And it facilitates this dynamic two-way transfer. The plant gives the fungi carbon sugars from photosynthesis, which the fungi need for energy.
Right.
And in return, the fungi acts like an underground delivery service, bringing the plant nitrogen, phosphorus, essential micronutrients like zinc, copper, even complex signaling molecules.
Signals. Like what?
Things that can influence plant defense or growth patterns, its communication. But despite their huge ecological role, they're often underappreciated. It's just hard to study them, you know?
Because digging them up destroys them.
Exactly. You disturb the very system you're trying to observe.
Right. And that brings us to this really ingenious experiment by Burt and colleagues on Plantago lanceolata, the ribwort plantain. They designed it meticulously to pin down the functional importance of these CMNs.
Isolating the network effect.
Precisely. They used these mesh barrier pods. It's a clever setup. It let them manipulate the hyphal connections, those fungal threads. Either keep them intact, let the network function, or sever them.
Simulate disruption.
Yeah. And then they varied the neighboring plants in adjoining compartments. Some had another mycorrhizal plant to form a good network. Some had a weakly mycorrhizal neighbor. And some were just fallow, empty soil.
Controls. Very important.
Absolutely. A really controlled, insightful setup to pinpoint the network's actual contribution.
And the measurements they took were incredibly detailed, a whole suite of things to get a full picture.
Like what?
Things like core exchange that tells you about photosynthesis rates, chlorophyll fluorescence, another indicator of photosynthetic health, plant stress.
Okay.
Then, obviously, biomass, the plant's total weight, a key measure of growth. They looked at mycorrhizal colonization rates in the roots, how much the fungi actually connected.
How integrated they were.
Exactly. And really significantly, they analyzed root exudates, the carbon compounds plants release into the soil. That's the food for the fungi.
The plant's investment.
Precisely. And maybe most critically, they measured the actual nutrient content in the plant tissues. Zinc, copper, sulfur. These micronutrients are often limiting factors, so their uptake is crucial.
And the results. Were they clear?
Oh, yeah. The paper calls them striking, and they really were. Plants connected to a mycorrhizal neighbor through an intact network. They showed significantly higher leaf biomass. They grew bigger.
Wow.
They also showed increased carbon exudation, meaning they were actively feeding the fungi more, investing more in their partners.
Interesting feedback.
And importantly, they had much higher concentrations of those critical micronutrients: zinc, copper, sulfur in their tissues, a direct, measurable benefit.
And severing the connections?
Dramatically reduced these benefits, it directly linked the network's integrity to the plant's better performance and nutrient uptake. No doubt about the CMN's active role. And this brings up a really crucial methodological point they highlighted, the need for non-mycorrhizal controls.
Right, the empty pots.
Yeah. Without those, you might mistakenly think the CMN is doing everything, when maybe the plant itself just got better at finding nutrients, or the soil was slightly different.
Good point.
The rigor of this study, isolating the CMN effect, really underscored its importance not just for resource transfer, but as an ecological information channel. The network itself was mediating the benefit.
So, looping this back to network Darwinism, it seems clear CMNs aren't just passive pipes for nutrients. They're transmitting nutrient signals, information, right? Influencing plant physiology.
Precisely. It's like the plant signals its needs, and the fungus responds based on the network's capacity and the plant's investment. Information flow.
And this is where redundancy comes in.
Absolutely. These networks often have multiple overlapping hyphal pathways connecting plants. So if one connection gets broken soil disturbance, maybe other pathways can persist.
The backup system.
Exactly. Communication and resource flow can continue, may be reduced, but it's robust. It provides biological backup.
And we also see environmental feedback, clearly.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
A beautiful dynamic interplay. Plants feed the fungi carbon, investing in the network, and in return, the fungi allocate resources back, often based on that carbon investment. It's reciprocal.
The more you give, the more you get, potentially.
Kind of. It creates this powerful, mutually beneficial evolutionary dynamic. A co-selection process favoring traits that enhance network participation.
So CMNs are a fantastic real-world example.
A perfect mesoscale example of network Darwinism in action. They're dynamic environmental networks actively selecting for traits like better biomass, nutrient uptake, specific exudates that enhance information and resource flow.
And that gives a fitness advantage.
Exactly, conferring fitness advantages. Emergent properties, like a thriving plant community, arise from the information dynamics within the network. It's information selection happening right under our feet.
Okay, let's shift gears now. From the hidden world underground to the incredibly complex dynamics of human culture, group coordination, and cultural intelligence.
A big jump.
It is. How does society create something like language or complex institutions or advanced technology that builds cumulatively over centuries? Traditional models often focus on individuals imitating or teaching.
One mind influencing another directly.
Right. But is that the whole story? Can simple imitation explain the sheer complexity and innovation we see in human societies?
It's a critical piece, sure, but likely not the full picture. This is where the group coordination thesis, proposed by Wu, Dale, and Hawkins, comes in.
Okay.
They argue that group-level processes aren't just an outcome of individual actions. They are an indispensable intermediate scale.
Intermediate, meaning?
Meaning a crucial bridge. A link connecting individual cognition, what happens inside one mind, to the grand cumulative phenomena of societal culture, like science or social norms.
Ah, so the group itself is a key unit of analysis.
Exactly. Without understanding the group dynamics, we're missing a vital piece of how complex societies and cultures emerge and evolve.
And their framework highlights two critical feedback loops driving this. Let's start with the first feedback loop. Individual capacities. What is it about us as individual humans that lets us work together so effectively, creating something bigger than ourselves?
Right. This first loop focuses on specific, maybe uniquely human, individual capacities essential for group coordination. First, there's theory of mind, or TOM.
Understanding others' intentions.
Precisely. Our ability to infer the mental states, beliefs, intentions, perspectives of others. Like if you hold a ladder for me, I assume you intend for me to climb safely.
You read their mind in a way.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Understanding the why behind actions, crucial for coordination. The second capacity is compositionality.
Combining ideas.
Yeah, our remarkable ability to combine discrete concepts or bits of information into novel, larger, more complex ideas. Taking knowledge from different fields, say birdwing biology and aerodynamics, to design a better airplane. Synthesizing something new.
And these two things, theory of mind and compositionality, are key for groups.
Absolutely key. They naturally lead to what they call complementary roles within groups. Individuals can specialize, bring different expertise, different skills.
Like an orchestra, not just soloists.
Perfect analogy. And then Crucially, they can recombine that distributed knowledge in novel ways. This recombination is a huge engine of innovation.
Because the group can solve problems no single individual could.
Exactly. The necessary information or skills are spread out, waiting to be combined. It makes you think about those awful group projects where everyone had the same
Oh,
skills.
I remember those. Nothing got done.
Right. This framework explains why diversity of skills and the ability to combine them is so crucial.
And there's a benefit to the individual, too.
Yes. The innovations from group complementarity actually reduce individual cognitive load, instead of one person needing to know and do everything.
The burden is shared.
Exactly. Tasks, knowledge, problem solving are spread across members. It makes complex problem solving more efficient, less taxing for any single mind, frees up mental resources.
Okay, that's the first loop. What about the second feedback loop? How cumulative culture feeds back onto groups.
Right. This is about how the things society creates, institutions, languages, technologies, don't just sit there. They actively feed back and shape future group dynamics.
How so?
These collective products act as powerful cognitive tools or scaffolds. They enable even further coordination and innovation.
Give me an example.
Okay, think about shared language. It allows incredibly precise, nuanced communication far beyond basic signals. Institutions like laws establish clear expectations, making interactions smoother.
Reduces uncertainty.
Exactly. And technologies like the internet or scientific journals create distributed knowledge networks, connecting specialists globally, allowing rapid exchange and recombination of diverse information.
So groups aren't starting from scratch each time.
Not at all. They inherit, refine, and leverage these cultural tools, boosting their efficiency, their problem-solving capacity, their potential for cumulative progress over generations.
And this framework helps with things like Rogers paradox. That puzzle where social learners didn't always seem to outperform individual ones.
Precisely. By bringing in theory of mind and compositionality, this group coordination view shows why sophisticated social learning works. It's not just imitation.
It's about coordination and recombination.
Yes. It's about how groups orchestrate and synthesize diverse information, leading to emergent capabilities far beyond simple copying. It reframes social learning as a complex, adaptive information selection process.
Which connects perfectly back to Network Darwinism. Groups are information networks.
Absolutely. They offer redundancy, multiple people knowing similar things, ensuring knowledge persists, and crucial complementarity, individuals specializing and sharing different skills, leading to novel capabilities.
So the network selects for useful cultural traits.
You could say that. Through this dynamic process, cultural traits, institutions, communication patterns that enhance information flow, promote beneficial redundancy, and facilitate sophisticated coordination are the ones that persist, get refined, and allow societies to achieve such incredible complexity and innovation. It's information selection at the societal scale.
All right, brace yourselves. We're taking the deepest dive now, from fungi and human groups to the very fabric of reality, quantum physics.
A really fundamental level.
Yeah. Quantum decoherence, classicality, quantum Darwinism. We're asking that profound question. Why does our world feel stable, predictable, solid? Why does a thrown ball follow a nice arc?
When, at the quantum level, everything is probabilistic, fuzzy, existing in multiple states at once.
Until observed, right?
Oh.
It seems totally at odds with our everyday experience. A huge mystery.
It is a profound mystery. And decoherence theory provides a crucial, elegant part of the answer.
Okay, explain decoherence.
Imagine a pure quantum system, like a perfectly tuned note in a soundproof room. Pristine, delicate.
Isolated.
Right. Now play that same note in a bustling concert hall. Noise, echoes, chatter.
It gets drowned out, loses its clarity.
Exactly. That pure note, its quantum weirdness or coherence, gets lost, blurred into the background noise. That's decoherence, in essence. The quantum system interacts constantly with its environment.
Like the concert hall.
And it leaks its delicate quantum information into that environment, which is like a vast, messy ocean. This constant interaction and information leakage effectively produce the stable, classical states we perceive.
So the weirdness fades into the environment.
Pretty much. The quantum gives way to the classical we experience.
Okay, that's a great analogy. But how do physicists actually measure this loss of weirdness? Quantify the transition? It sounds incredibly abstract.
It is abstract, but Fu and Luo made a really innovative contribution here, proposing two quantifiable measures of classicality.
Measures of classicalness.
Essentially, yes. Think of it like this. When a quantum particle interacts with its environment, its information gets copied or leaked into the surroundings. Fu and Luo's first measure helps quantify how clear and stable that information becomes, how much that quantum whisper solidifies into something everyone can agree on.
Like an objective fact emerging.
Right. Technically, it uses something called the Jordan product, a mathematical tool reflecting classical aspects of the state channel interaction. They showed this measure of classicality always increases predictably as interaction happens.
Okay, that's one measure. What's the second?
The second uses a modified variance of the quantum state. While normal variance tells you the spread of possible measurement outcomes, this modified variance specifically tracks how classical the state is becoming.
So two tools to track the quantum to classical transition.
Exactly. Robust, quantifiable tools to understand how the probabilistic quantum world gives rise to our predictable classical one, like meters for classicalness.
Now, this is where it gets even more interesting, right? Because decoherence alone, while crucial, apparently isn't enough to fully explain our shared objective classical reality.
You're absolutely right. There's a critical addition needed. It's almost Darwinian.
Darwinian how?
It's what they call the redundant proliferation of system information into multiple accessible fragments of the environment.
Okay, break that down. Redundant proliferation.
Imagine the quantum system isn't just leaking its information. Its identity, its state, is being copied over and over and over again countless times into many different parts of its environment.
Like making tons of photocopies.
Exactly. When decoherence happens alongside this massive redundant copying, so many parts of the environment now hold identical copies of the system's information. That's what leads to quantum Darwinism.
Ah, okay. And this leads to pointer states. I love that term.
Me too. Pointer states are the robust, stable states that emerge from the quantum possibilities precisely because they've been redundantly encoded in the environment, like countless identical echoes.
They're the ones that survive being observed by the environment.
You can really think of them as the fittest quantum states in a natural selection process. The environment acts as the selective pressure, favoring states that leave the most robust, redundant imprints. They win the environmental monitoring lottery.
And the key implication here is objectivity, how we all agree on reality.
Precisely. Because the information about that pointer state is copied redundantly into so many fragments of the environment, different observers sampling different fragments will all independently and consistently agree on the same pointer state.
Ah, so that's how reality becomes shared, not just subjective.
Exactly. It's a Darwinian selection for quantum states driven by the environment's ability to make redundant copies. And Fu and Luo's measures help quantify how this crucial redundancy contributes to that selection, giving us tangible ways to understand how stable, shared reality emerges from the fuzziness.
Okay, so we've journeyed through quantum particles, fungal networks, and human group dynamics. Three incredibly different worlds. Now let's tie it all together. What's the unifying thread? The core insight of Network Darwinism.
The core insight, the big message is this. At the heart of all three systems, you find networks acting as dynamic information environments.
Information environments, okay.
Whether it's quantum fields interacting, fungal hyphae connecting roots, or social connections enabling communication. These networks aren't passive conduits.
They're active mediators.
Exactly, mediating interactions, creating channels for information flow, enabling redundancy, facilitating complementarity, and involving intricate feedback loops that shape the system. They are essentially the selective agents for information.
And remarkably, in each domain, this network-mediated selection process fosters stability and emergent structure. It's order arising from these universal mechanisms.
Precisely. Let's look closely at those key mechanisms again, starting with redundancy and robustness.
Redundancy seems absolutely vital for stability against noise or disruption, right? Like having backups.
Spot on. It applies universally. In quantum Darwinism, it's the redundant copies of system info spread across the environment that allow observers to agree on an objective pointer state. Without that redundancy, the information is fragile, subjective.
No, would be stable.
No. Similarly, in human groups, redundancy comes from overlapping knowledge, multiple people knowing similar things through imitation, teaching, shared experience. This is vital for cultural persistence. If someone leaves, the knowledge isn't lost.
Like multiple team members knowing a critical process.
Exactly. And in mycorrhizal networks, redundancy is literally built in with multiple hyphal connections. Burt et al. Showed severing some connections reduced, but didn't abolish the benefits. Other pathways provided robustness.
So Network Darwinism sees redundancy as a selective force.
Yes. States, behaviors, information that can be robustly reproduced or transmitted across multiple pathways are selected and survive. Fragile variations dissipate. Redundancy equals robustness.
Okay, mechanism 2, complementarity and recombination. This feels like different pieces fitting together to create something new.
That's the essence. Complementarity is when different network nodes supply non-overlapping resources or information that, when combined, produce emergent capabilities beyond any single node.
Like the sum being greater than the parts.
Exactly. In human groups, Wu, Dale, and Hawkins highlighted how theory of mind and compositionality enable individuals to specialize and then combine contributions. One person generates ideas, another executes, another communicates. They recombine specialized knowledge.
The group's capability skyrockets.
Right. In mycorrhizal networks, different plant species might excel at acquiring different nutrients, say, legumes fixing nitrogen, others mobilizing phosphorus. They exchange these via the CMN, boosting the whole community's nutrition.
Synergistic benefits.
Precisely. Even in quantum Darwinism, pointer states show complementarity. Position might become stable and redundant, while its conjugate partner, momentum, gets suppressed. The environment selects a complementary basis, stable position, at the expense of precise momentum.
So complementarity emerges when networks allow specialized channels to be effectively combined.
Leading to emergent properties, new ideas, better nutrition, stable reality.
Got it. Yeah, the third mechanism, environmental feedback and evolutionary dynamics. This sounds like the most active part, a continuous conversation.
It is. The relationship is dynamic and reciprocal. The environment influences nodes, and nodes modify the environment. It's a dance.
How does that play out?
In quantum systems, as the environment learns about the system via interaction, the system's state evolves towards classicality. Fu and Lua's measures actually track this feedback environmental monitoring, increasing classical features.
Okay.
In human groups, cumulative culture institutions, language, tech feeds back constantly, shaping individual learning, interactions, expectations for future collaboration.
Culture shapes us as we shape it.
Exactly. And in CMNs, fungi respond to plant exudates, carbon investment, and allocate resources back accordingly. More carbon might mean more nutrients return a positive feedback loop.
A dynamic selection process.
Absolutely. Network Darwinism sees networks as evolutionary landscapes. They evolve to favor states and behaviors that thrive under these feedback loops. The information environment itself acts as an evolutionary agent, selecting for robustness, complementarity, and efficient feedback.
Incredible. So, if these mechanisms are so universal, could the same underlying math describe these vastly different systems? Are we talking truly scale-free principles?
That's the tantalizing possibility. While the specific physics or biology differs, the information theoretic principles might be scale-free.
You mean?
Well, consider Fu and Luo's quantum classicality measures quantifying robust information encoding. Could we develop analogous quantities for CMNs? Like a nutrient redundancy index.
Measuring how reliably nutrients flow despite disruptions.
Or for cultural groups, a cognitive redundancy score, measuring the overlap of essential mental models in a team.
Quantifying shared understanding.
Right, and maybe the math itself has analogies. The Jordan product in quantum theory captures symmetry. Could that inspire metrics of symmetry or balance in mutualistic networks like CMNs?
How evenly resources are shared, perhaps.
Perhaps. Conversely, could cognitive capacities like theory of mind anticipating information use have analogs in how fungi adaptively allocate resources, or even in quantum error correction codes designed to protect information?
Wow. So network Darwinism isn't just descriptive, it's generative. It encourages searching for these deep cross-scale measures.
Exactly. It suggests the underlying grammar of information selection might be far more universal than we've imagined, a potential paradigm shift. And precisely because it's generative, it leads to testable predictions. A good theory has to do that, right? Open up new avenues for research.
Absolutely. So let's explore some of these hypotheses. The first one seems straightforward. Network redundancy predicts stability across scales.
Right. This proposes a direct link. More redundant pathways for information or resources equals more stability against disruptions.
So in practice.
For plant communities, species linked by multiple hyphal pathways should be more stable in biomass or nutrient uptake during, say, a drought, compared to those with few connections.
Makes sense.
Culturally, groups with redundant communication channels face-to-face, online, etc. should be more resilient to member turnover or sudden changes like shifting to remote work.
Mm-hmm.
And in quantum experiments, increasing the redundancy of environmental encoding should lead to faster, more stable emergence of classical pointer states. They become more robust.
And how would we actually test this across such different fields?
You'd need controlled experiments, manipulating CMN connectivity in lab setups maybe, controlled group problem-solving tasks with varied communication structures, and sophisticated quantum simulations varying environmental redundancy.
Okay. Hypothesis 2 sounds like the engine of progress. Complementarity drives innovation.
This suggests that combining different, non-overlapping elements via a network is fundamental to creating novelty and enhanced capabilities.
Examples.
In human culture, the group coordination thesis points to cross-domain recombination, bringing together different fields, skills, perspectives as a major source of innovation. Think biotech from biology and engineering.
Or AI integrating neuroscience and computer science.
Exactly. In ecology, plants with complementary nutrient skills, nitrogen fixers, and phosphorus mobilizers linked by CMNs should show enhanced community productivity or stress tolerance. It's synergistic.
More than just the sum of the parts.
Yeah, right. Even in quantum computing, decomposing complex algorithms into complementary parts might be analogous to how human groups break down problems.
So the big question is, do networks promoting complementarity consistently yield more innovation across scales?
That's the core question to test. Now, the third hypothesis. Information theoretic metrics unify network dynamics. This builds directly on Fu and Luo's quantum work. Their classicality measures quantify information selection. The hypothesis is we could develop similar, rigorous metrics for biology and social systems.
Like the Mycorrhizal redundancy index or cognitive redundancy score you mentioned earlier.
Exactly, universal measures of information selection dynamics.
And the practical use. Why develop these abstract metrics?
They could be incredibly useful for managing networks in conservation, agriculture, organizational design. We could strategically promote redundancy for stability or complementarity for innovation based on quantitative measures.
Guiding interventions.
Precisely, and potentially revealing universal patterns in how all networks process information.
Hypothesis 4 gets into the structure itself. Evolution of network architectures.
This proposes that network structure isn't random. It evolves under selective pressure. In quantum Darwinism, the environment structure determines which states become classical.
The environment selects.
In ecology, CMN architecture influences plant benefits and ecosystem resilience. In human societies, our institutions, technologies, even city layouts shape information flow.
Our networks shape us.
And this hypothesis predicts these architectures evolve to optimize functions like information transfer or robustness. Comparative studies across domains might reveal convergent patterns, similar structures solving similar problems.
Fascinating. And the final intriguing hypothesis. Agency and adaptation.
This highlights a key difference, but also a potential bridge. Plants and fungi allocate resources adaptively. They respond, they choose, in a sense.
They have agency of a sort.
Quantum systems don't, fundamentally. Yet even there, things like error correction codes act to stabilize information, mimicking selection through external design.
And humans.
Humans consciously shape networks, building institutions, tech, alliances. We have intention.
So the exploration is.
How does adaptive behavior emerge from non-adaptive substrates like particles? How does conscious agency fit into this universal framework? It touches on the origins of responsiveness, control, maybe even life itself, how networked interactions can give rise to systems that seem to learn or choose.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from quantum to fungi to us. What does this all mean for you listening right now, for how we understand the world, maybe even how we act in it?
The implications are really practical and far-reaching. Take ecology. This framework screams preservation of below-ground networks. Things like excessive tillage or fungicides aren't just hurting plants. They're disrupting vital information channels, reducing entire community resilience.
So it changes how we think about farming.
It could. Network Darwinism suggests designing polycultures, multiple crops together, specifically to maximize nutrient redundancy and complementarity via CMNs, building more robust, self-sustaining agricultural ecosystems.
Makes sense. What about cognitive science, or how we organize ourselves?
The group coordination perspective suggests rethinking education and organizations. instead of just focusing on individual brilliance.
Focus on the team.
Focus on designing environments that foster complementary roles, diverse perspectives, and shared understanding through good communication. Technology platforms should support this enabling meaningful redundancy and creative recombination of knowledge.
For innovation.
Exactly. It could change how we teach, how businesses innovate, how communities solve problems.
And quantum technologies, that super cutting-edge field.
Understanding how environment structure affects pointer states can directly guide building error-resistant quantum devices. Quantum computers are incredibly fragile.
Decoherence happens fast.
Very fast. If quantum Darwinism is part of this bigger picture, maybe we can engineer environments to select for the quantum states we want, making computers more robust using redundancy and complementarity ideas. Fu and Luo's metrics offer ways to measure progress here.
Wow. This really challenges that simple reductionist view, doesn't it? Emergent properties aren't just the sum of parts.
Not at all. If network Darwinism holds, they are profoundly products of the network structures and the information flows within them. The how of information selection is as crucial as the what of the components.
A new way of seeing complexity.
Yes. And this unified language of information selection could bridge fields that rarely talk ecology, cognitive science, quantum physics. It inspires new models, new collaborations, and fundamentally invites a re-examination of how order emerges in the universe. It's potentially a paradigm shift. #tag outro.
What an incredible journey today. We've seen how this single, powerful, principle network Darwinism seems to weave together the hidden communication of fungi and plants, the collaborative genius of human groups, and even how our solid reality emerges from quantum fuzziness.
It truly highlights that networks at every scale aren't passive. They're dynamic environments actively selecting for information, amplifying some things, suppressing others, stabilizing what emerges.
With those hallmarks,
Yeah.
redundancy, complementarity, feedback.
Exactly. They seem to be the fundamental operating principles of this information selection process shaping our world.
It really makes you question how often we compartmentalize knowledge, put ideas in separate boxes. Maybe the biggest insights lie in connecting the seemingly unconnected.
It certainly suggests looking for those universal principles hidden in plain sight.
Okay, so a final thought for everyone listening.
Well, next time you see a tree, or maybe work on a team project, or even just sit back and think about the solidity of the chair you're on, consider this. You might be witnessing different manifestations of the same fundamental process information being selected, transmitted, stabilized.
Wow.
And it makes you wonder, what other invisible networks might be shaping our reality right now that we haven't even begun to recognize? What insights could they hold?
A truly provocative thought to leave you with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into network Darwinism. Keep exploring those surprising connections, and remember, the deep dive never truly ends.